Something brand new from SpeedyBee today on the channel. Guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. I have a brand new FPV drone review for you today, and this one comes from a company named SpeedyBee, which a lot of you guys probably already know. If you're brand new to the hobby, welcome to a company that has good quality and some interesting design choices on this particular drone. So who is this drone for? First and foremost, it's for people that are maybe, I'd say beginner to intermediate and even advanced. So it's kind of covers all the different levels in the hobby because it is quite durable for beginners. It's also quite maneuverable for FPV freestyle, which a lot of you guys already fly. And if you're looking for something of this size where you can just pick it up and fly it in something like a soccer field or a ball field, this is a great choice. It also comes in analog and HD options, so you can get either or, whatever you want to put on here, and it starts out at about $179 on SpeedyBee's website. If you get the HD version with the DJI 03 on there, that will kick you up to about, with TBS Nano on there, for about $379, which is quite about $100 cheaper than what we were getting 03 bind and flies for last year. So I think that's pretty good. It does have a front seat 03 sort of harness up in the front here with camera and silicone dampening. We'll get into more of this after the flight test. It also has this kind of little strap here that's almost like a little mini bungee right here between these two rails that your battery slides into, and it fits a 4S850 on there perfectly. Anything bigger or longer than the 4S850, and it kind of runs into this hard-mounted XT30 in the back. I'll show you that in the little closer look that we have coming up. But if you want to make this under 250 grams as well, that is possible if you battery down to something like, say, a 4S650, should get you under that 250 gram mark. So if you want to fly it with a little longer flight time, you can get the 850 and go a little bit further and a little bit longer. So let's go ahead, take it outside. Let me show you a few different modes. With angle mode, we'll just fly it kind of slow and true around the field, and then we'll also get into some acro flying with some FPV freestyle with this, because this little quad will do both. It'll do freestyle and it will do some slow cinema style stuff too. Just bring that camera angle down if you want to do more cinema stuff, and crank it all the way up to about 30 degrees if you really want to get some fast flying out of this, because it is super fast on 4S. 2.5 inch on 4S, it's a rocket and it's a lot of fun. So let's go ahead outside now and let's get into the flight test. After that, we'll come back and we'll check out the B25 on the bench together. Here we go. Guys, welcome back from the flight test. On the scale right now, I have 168.3 grams. That's without a battery, with any action camera on there. If I set the 4S850 from Tattoo on there, that's going to be my choice battery. It's 262.1 grams total takeoff weight. But I think if you battery down to something like a 4S750 milliamp, that's going to get you about 5 minutes flight time. If you want to go up to something like an 1100, you can even fly something as large as 1100 on here and get up to 10 minutes flight time on this quad. Okay, now I'm going to plug in the quad. This is probably one of my favorite things about this quad is the LEDs on here are just super cool. Check this out. And if I switch the LED switch on the transmitter, as I switch, it will change different LED programming modes. So this is the default one that loads up. It's kind of going into different colors as it sort of swirls around the frame. I mean, look at that. Now let's go ahead and switch out to a different mode. Look at her. Are you impressed yet? That is freaking crazy. And it looks so cool when it's flying and you're switching out of these different modes. Diego and I turned it on and I was kind of in disbelief when it first loaded up. I was like, no freaking way. I mean, seriously, I haven't seen any other quad ever come in my shop with this kind of LED programming. Look at that. It's like a strobe effect. That thing is freaking cool. We got full rainbow, strobe, ants marching. We got fade, all kinds of different modes. I think there's probably like 7 or 8 different modes in here. And what I'm doing is just switching this switch right here. And as I'm switching, it's just going through, it's cycling through all these different modes. And if you want to just completely turn them off, just turn them off just like that. And then back on. Don't like that mode, switch down, off, and back on again. And it changes the mode for you. That is freaking cool, isn't it? I mean, seriously, some of the coolest LED programming. And I'm not even biased about this. Let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments on this video. That is freaking just awesome. That is so cool. All right, we got to talk about the specs because I really could just play with these all day. Super cool. Okay, so there it sits. It does have a pretty low profile. It has this sort of countersunk LEDs all the way around this frame to the backside. And it does have injection molded plastic. It has carbon composite top plate right here for the motors, which are inverted motors. And those are 1404 motors. You can get it in analog or you can get it in the DJI 03 version. It does have the 20 millimeter sort of, it's compatible with 20 millimeter width lens on the front. The wheelbase itself is actually 120 millimeter, and it is running a flight controller that's an STM32 F405 flight controller, and it has 35 amp 8-bit Blue Jay firmware ESCs. So that is pretty cool. The motors are 1404 and they are 4600 kV. These are the V2 versions of these motors. They have 2 bolts on the top of the prop on top, but it is an inverted motor, as you noticed when I had it sitting down on the bench. But that doesn't really seem to detract from the flight because I think it does pretty good when it does FPV freestyle. I have quite a bit of grass on the inside of these prop guards all the way around. When I was building it, I have to give you some feedback on the build. Some of you guys are going to buy this, probably I think it's around $180 to $200 without an O3. So if you want to get that with the receiver or without it, you can build up your own. But there are 4 bolts holding this front plate on, and this comes off. And then your O3 just slides in right here, and there's a cable, an HD cable coming off the flight controller, which is already wired up. And all you have to do is plug it into the O3 right here. You also have top access to update your firmware or register your O3 with the USB-C port right there and the SD card port right there for your videos. But with the O3, if you didn't know this, you already have 20 gigabytes of onboard storage for 4K DVR from this camera as well. Now it does have a little bit of damage on the front of my lens there. You might have saw that in my flight test. I have a few scratches from another flight test, but this camera just tucks right back in here. And remember, we've got 20mm camera sizing here, and it does have silicone dampening on the side, which I put 2 bolts here on the side. And if I was to be honest, I did see a little bit of jitter coming back around from some of those like big power loops around that little tent that we were at the soccer field trying to power loop with this thing. But honestly, like it stops feeling like a Cinewhoop when you're flying this because of how fast this quad is. It really is quick out there in the fields. I mean, and you can see I probably had like around 20% or 20 degrees of tilt on this camera. So I didn't have a ton of tilt, but I did fly straight into the tent at one point, and it just backed off, and I was able to just fly out of the tent. So this, whatever is going on up here, this scratch was, done on another flight test. It wasn't this particular one, but it does have a little bit of frontal coverage here and a lot from side to side. So plenty of side plate protection for the camera. The O3 is on a tilt right here, or on a vertical. So I didn't, obviously that's usually in the back, but it shortens all this up and really kind of makes this a lot more accessible to take this on and off. So if you broke this, you could replace it pretty quick. I think it probably took me like maybe 15 minutes just to set everything in there the way I wanted it, to get it all snug. It does have some bolts on the side which can go through into your O3 and secure it down to the frame, which is pretty cool. And on the bottom as well, you have all this clear plastic, which I think is kind of cool. So you have access and ports to your bind plug down here, so you can get to your bind button. And back here you have more venting, and it does come with these antenna sort of posts right here, which can also screw onto the quad and bring your antennas up and out this direction. If you want to be a little fancier with your build, these are included in the box too. So, or you could just take some zip ties like I've done here. That's kind of the old school way to do it. Pretty quick. And back here, this is the part that Diego and I liked a lot. They do have a bit of 3M here, but they have this little sort of bungee strap right here. And this is super convenient for the 4S 850s. Just slides right in like this. And if you try to fly anything bigger than the 850 at this length, it will kind of run into the XT30 right here. But I did try an 1100 pack, which I have, which is just a little, maybe a couple millimeters longer, and that one did fit on here. So 4S 1100s still fit, just barely. We also have a spot for GPS back here, which is injection molded plastic. It has 2 M2 bolts right there, and you can plug in your GPS. I'll put a link down below if I can find that GPS for this quad. It's a BZ181 GPS if you're looking for it. It fits this perfectly, and then you can have GPS return to home on this quad as well. And in the very back, they've got a USB-C port for plugging into Betaflight. Now the props on here, those are HQ props. They're DT 63mm 3-blade props. And I feel like they do pretty good. I mean, I was getting 4 to 5 minutes off of an 850 battery, but I was also kind of flying fast and flying some freestyle today with this quad, because when I first took off with it, it was so fast that all I wanted to do was flips and rolls and power loops and split S's with this quad. You're just going to find yourself wanting to do that stuff with this quad because it really does have a lot of speed to it. Now on the bottom of the quad, you see where the LEDs kind of snake around top to bottom here, and they plug in just behind and underneath this vent right here. If you look closely, you can see a plug way down in there, and it is plug and play. So if you snap these LEDs or you break them somehow, or you have a severe crash and you just break your prop guards and the LEDs, you can plug in a new set. And they are programmable from the factory. So these are already programmed to set up just like this. So if you break these, they should be able to be replaced. They're called the Meteor LED 2.0. So this is the second version of the original Meteors by SpeedyBee. And as far as durability goes, I did hit a couple things out there. It just kind of bounced off and kept flying. This frame seems to be like a super hard injection molded polycarbonate type of frame. It's the same material as whatever this front piece here is for the O3 enclosure. And on the bottom, we also have a removable by 4 M2 bolts. This bottom plate comes off. One thing, if I could be critical about this frame, when I was coming in for a landing on the concrete, it does have 6 little feet that stick up under here. They are that injection molded plastic, but I would really like to have seen maybe some kind of like silicone or 3M sticky bottom plate. You could probably just take a piece of Velcro, maybe something 3M, and put down here to have it kind of bounce on rubber instead of hitting these particular feet. I feel like it's a little bit hard, and I almost thought maybe the frame cracked at a certain point. Like it sounded like real plasticky when it did hit the concrete. So maybe if we did have some bumper protection on the bottom, especially for our props, because you can see the top of these motors really are kind of, you know, somewhat close. So you don't really want to hit your motors on the concrete or on a rock on the ground. So I would suggest maybe putting some kind of bumper on the bottom right in the middle that you can just land on and protect your motors and your props. Now, I showed you earlier the USB-C port back here and the GPS hookup for the BZ181, the XT30, and all of this can come off. We also have something hiding back here that you didn't notice earlier, most likely. It is the boot button, because I'm sure some of you guys are sitting there going, well, if I have to flash the firmware, how am I going to do that with this back here? Here is the boot button on the side. So SpeedyBee moved the boot button to the back, which is pretty cool. You can just barely see it right there. If you press and hold that, plug your USB-C in, you're going to be able to flash the firmware and update your flight controller. And some of the new guys might not know, but you can download the SpeedyBee app. And then once you download the app, you can also plug your phone into the back of this USB-C port. I have the new iPhone, and I can plug my phone right into the back, and I can make Betaflight changes inside the SpeedyBee app, which is pretty cool. So you can also do things like accelerometer calibration. If your quad seems to be flying funny in angle mode, you can turn on and off the accelerometer, the gyro. You can turn on and off GPS. You can change your PID tuning in there. You can even update the firmware. So that gives you a lot of versatility as far as being out in the field. Say you're out there flying with some buddies for the day, and you just need to make a quick change on your quad or add a new mode, you can do that. And one other thing I noticed on their website was that they don't just have this injection molded version for the front piece, this entire assembly. You can also get this in aircraft aluminum, and that'll be a little more durable than the injection molded, but this is going to be more cost effective. So at the end of the day, I would have to say that this is definitely like a 2 thumbs up quad because of a lot of reasons. I'm going to go ahead and give it like 2 thumbs up. That's like one of the highest scores you can get on this channel. And I mean, I probably could do a thumb and a half, maybe because of some of the vibes that I saw in the tune coming back around from some of the big power loops and things like that. But you know what? That's not even what this quad is for. So we got to stick to 2 thumbs up here because it's not really made to be a freestyle drone. And I try to push everything to be one. So if you guys watch my channel, you probably know that. But there's a lot of cool things going on for this quad. It's fun to fly. It's fast or it's slow. It has a lot of modularity to the frame, so you can really kind of change things up. I really like the LED programming on here with LEDs modes, different different modes on the switch. It just drives me crazy as a tech guy. I freaking love that. Like I would buy something like this just for this fun to show people at the field, because I don't think a lot of people have seen LEDs on Binafly quads quite like this before. So I think they hit a home run as far as the fun factor on the LEDs. Like it's just really cool. And so if you're flying this even like line of sight or someone's following you, you can get some really sick like footage flying it either line of sight or doing some follow footage. That would be super fun. But it is fast. It is also slow. It can do cinema and it can do freestyle. And the 1404 motors on there, the V2s, they have plenty of power. When I was trying to do power loops low to the ground, when I would go 3/4 throttle, I'd be way up above the tent on the soccer field. So it has a lot of power with the 1404s, and they're 4700 kV. And don't hate on this quad because it is the inverted motors. It can still rip. If you're a good flyer, you're a good freestyle pilot, you can make this a freestyle quad. Uh, and it's gonna be pretty durable for you. So it was a lot of fun to fly. It's versatile, it's tough, it's modular, it has sick LEDs again. Like, yeah, it's definitely two thumbs up. I can't get too mad at it for some of the vibrations coming back around from big power loops and things like that. It's going to happen if you're brand new to flying Cinewhoops. One of the things that people have all the time is you get the off-axis tumble where the flight controller just reaches its threshold and it has tumble. DJI Avata 1 had serious tumble. And that's when the flight controller freaks out and it kind of crashes to the ground. These types of Cinewhoops have less frequent tumble than something like a DJI Avata 1. The Avata 2 has almost no tumble to it, but it still does have some. But this one, it's going to even fly better than like something like the Avata 2, but this is a completely different animal, so I'm not comparing it to that. I know some of the DJI fanboys might be like, oh, Jesse, you can't compare this. Well, you know what? It's my channel. I can compare anything I want, but I won't do that to you today because they're two different animals for sure. But yeah, the B25. I wish they had sent me the 35. They should have sent us that one because we would have flown that one as hard as we flew this one. So we'll keep flying and we'll bring you more reviews on the channel. I would recommend picking this one up. I'll stand behind this one. If you get it and you don't like it, let me know in the comments down below because I think you're going to like this one. I love it. I honestly love it. I think it's great. So yeah, take it with a grain of salt. It's just a review from a reviewer and I got it for free, but I didn't get paid to make this review. So I will see you on the next one, guys. Take care. And I will be here switching my LEDs until the battery runs out and I can charge up another one. But take care, guys. I'm Justin Davis. I will see you on the next one.